re-up for Prime to be $98.
All right. Oh wait, nah, dude, hold up. Our next review is one I know Johnny's been salivating for.
Oh yeah.
All right. The movie is Birth of the Dragon.
Yes.
Mm.
And
I
this
feel like we should have a soundbite for
follows basically the battle between, which is a real life thing, between Bruce Lee and Wong Jack Man.
Yes.
And the battle of basically the two disciplines.
Yep.
Correct. Yes. And this is a real story. This is this actually happened.
Well, inspired by real events.
I mean,
this
of course,
story
didn't have a
was...
camera, but this is one of the most famous fights.
Yes, it is.
In history. You know what I mean? I remember one of my favorite movies growing up was Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Played by Jason Scott Lee. I love this movie growing up, but this is like the biopic. It was
not a good movie though. Dude.
No, it was basically the biopic of Bruce Lee. And
starring Jason Scott Lee in his first role. Well, one, Jason Scott Lee, no relation to Bruce Lee,
right?
And Jason Scott Lee in his first big role after Griff's henchman number 3 in Back to the Future 2.
Right, and he was also Mowgli in the live-action Jungle Book movie.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was. You will not recognize him for that because no one's seen that movie in 40 plus years.
But it's so good.
It happened 30 years ago.
But anyway, so
yeah.
It was good. Come on. So,
all right.
So Dragon, though, that was featured. That fight was definitely in there. Definitely.
Yep, it was big. Let me break it down real quick. Young Bruce Lee is trying to make a name for himself while working as a martial arts instructor in 1964 San Francisco. When Lee meets Wong Jack Man, he challenges the Kung Fu master to a no-holds-barred fight that became the stuff of legend. Now, as you said, this is a thing that actually happened, but this is also around the time where Bruce Lee wasn't the big name. Right. Bruce Lee was just coming into his own, and he was just starting to be recognized as a famous martial arts figure.
Back then, you had to challenge the schools, you know what I mean? So you had to kind of you had to be boisterous. You went to these like events, you went to these things where they were, showing their displays of the mastery of their martial art.
Yep, and he was also a representative of Kung Fu, which was not considered as prestigious and as legit as the other styles.
And also, it was kind of frowned upon to kind of have these techniques out there because it was supposed to be a kept secret, some of the stuff they did. So Bruce Lee having this idea that he could teach everybody, he wanted to expose the world to this brand of Kung Fu, really irked a lot of people, the higher ups, that kind of viewed it as something like we should keep, close to the belt. We we don't want to have everyone knowing this because it's like our culture.
Yeah,
a little bit. So it was a lot of tension just based on that. And when they say the stuff of legends, it really is that. There's so much about this, and no one knows exactly what happened. A lot is up to interpretation. There's a lot of different viewpoints on what actually went down and how the fight went down and how it all came about. But this is an interesting take on it.
Well, you saw the movie, man. Give us your.
I didn't like the first of all. It kind of narrated and followed the story of this white guy who follows into the school and he starts being trained. So I thought that was really, really right off the bat a horrible way to do this movie. A really kind of it's like this is an incredibly interesting story. This is just that.
Well, see, now I like that part. That part gave me a level of removal.
It's just an entry point, though. I didn't think that it needed. Do you know what I mean? I thought we could have just.
No, I think it definitely needed that because consider it this way: if they told it from Wong's point of view or from Bruce's point of view, there's automatic favoritism from the audience with this is the guy we're following, and also there's an assumption if we're following Bruce Lee specifically, then we assume he's going to be the one that wins, and we're not paying attention to any kind of there could be or there couldn't be. If we're following Wong, then it's like okay, well maybe he's the one that's definitely going to win, and this is going to be a humbling for Bruce, and we're not paying attention. Having it from an outside point of view, it's almost like the audience was in the movie, and these two were watching. Opposing forces come together.
Okay,
but we're not. We're free to choose our sides ourselves.
I see your point, but it's still he's his student. I think it was just a kind of a weird way to almost whitewash.
Well, not just his student. He's both their students.
Right, because he kind of he starts with Bruce, and then he kind of goes and starts learning more. Basically, his love for Kung Fu, and they're both guys are decent guys. You know what I mean? There's not a good guy and a bad guy.
Well, there's.
So much.
There's the good guy who's a little too into his own path, and then
creating
there's
the
other good guy who's really cavalier about everything.
Yes.
Yeah. The guy we're talking about, by the way, is Steve McKee, played by Billy Mangruson. And I've never actually heard, his face looked kind of familiar, so I may have seen him somewhere, but I've never actually heard the name, so I'm not sure. Billy Mangruson?
He's got that, like, just generic, blonde hair.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else that just looks like him.
But I think it was like, it's just, I don't know. It's...
No, it's one of those things where it's like, do I know that guy? He's kind of like, but so and so and blank and blank. But I think it was good having the movie from his point of view, because when it came down to the actual fight, the big publicized battle between Bruce Lee and Wong Jack-man, it allowed us to see that we've been following these dudes from an objective point of view. So we've gotten both the good parts of their character and the bad parts of their character. And one thing that I really like about this, I was mentioning to Johnny before the show when he said, shenanigans and BS. And I was like, no, dude, trust me, it's real. Is if you've ever seen documentaries about Bruce Lee at this time,
yeah,
it always like documentaries will be more truthful than movies. And this is one thing.
It's supposed to be all fact. Yeah.
But this is one thing Dragon, I think, really either missed or went out of its way not to show that he's
mythifies him almost. You know what I mean?
It does, and that's the problem, because the documentaries will show Bruce Lee wasn't just a good martial artist, wasn't just passionate. He was fanatical to the point where
smack talker too.
Exactly, he was fanatical to the point where it was like, I'm so incredible at this. Nobody can see me. I'm the man. Well, also, and he was very vocal about that, and that gave him a negative reputation, not just for being the less popular style, the style that no one wants to show, but the fact that he was very in your face.
But he also actually fully believed he was that good, and then one of the outcomes of this fight is, like, he thought he could beat Wong Jack-man, very handily. Yeah. And so when he fought him,
every popped collar, frosted tipped sunglasses on the back of the head douche thinks the same thing. I'm the shiz. Bruce Lee thought he was the shiz.
When he struggled to beat him handily, you know what I mean, he then in real life dedicated himself to actually training harder and stuff, and like he became fanatical at the idea that he just couldn't run through this guy. And so that kind of shaped the later life of Bruce Lee in terms of his dedication and his willingness to try these really unconventional techniques and training patterns and everything like that. I know, like, there's so many stories about what he would do in terms of, like, how he would eat these really interesting shakes with raw meat.
Yeah, his body was supposed to be a machine, so he went through periods of fasting. He would eat next to nothing. He would train 14 to 18 hours a day. He would train and sleep, and then wake up and train and sleep, and that really caused a struggle, which they didn't show in the maybe it was too early to show in the movie. But from documentaries,
that really about that. Yeah,
caused a struggle in his personal life. That's what's up?
I just had a question. Is this like pre Yukon Do or post?
Yes, this is early Bruce Lee, before the creation of Jeet Kune Do.
Jeet Kune Do.
Okay, thank you. Yep, before the creation of Jeet Kune Do, and he's still practicing Gun Fu.
So Wing Chun kind of.
Yeah, a variation of Kung Fu. Yeah. And he's still, like, trying to get respect in martial arts communities. There's a lot of exhibitions. There's a lot of smack talking. There's a lot of people like, no, he's not that great. I can take him. And then he beats one guy. Okay, well, that guy wasn't that good either. I can take him. And then he's got to beat this guy. And, well, you know what? He's not that, and he's got to prove himself over and over again. And they show a little of that. But like we said, this is not Bruce Lee's story. If anything, it's split between the story of Bruce Lee coming up and being himself, and the story of Wong Jack-man coming to America and not wanting to prove himself, but kind of being forced. Yes.
He was a monk, and he came through. And so awesome. All those videos you see, like, if you can go on YouTube and you see him doing, like, the 1-inch punch, those famous things, those are what he would go around doing to promote his school. So, like, when Bruce Lee came to America, you know what I mean, he was going to school, and he started this karate instruction school. And the only way to get, people to come and give him money to train them, he had to go to these big, fundraisers and events and things and show off his skill. And if people are like, wow, that's crazy, I want to train under him. And so that was really the only way to do it, before, social media, before the internet, before, you know what I mean, putting flyers up on walls. Like, he had to show and be the cockiest and the best. And so that obviously but that had to make a name for himself, because that's money in your pocket. So he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and so this was a way to prove yourself too, as you lay down a challenge against the best.
He did. This is true, And over time, he got to be known as he's Bruce Lee, but he's more of a reputation than a performer. You know what I'm saying? Like, even now, people know the name Bruce Lee. And I know kids that have never seen a Bruce Lee movie, but they know of the name Bruce Lee.
Of course.
He's that guy. He does martial arts. Okay, cool. Have you seen the movie? Nah, but I know this character in this video game that was based off him. You know, it's stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so, Bruce Lee had a different when he started breaking into movies too. Obviously, he didn't do a lot before he passed away, but what he did in terms of change martial arts in movies, like before that, a lot of the kung fu movies was like you would fight for like 20 minutes and it'd be like psh, 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 and these blocks and Bruce Lee, when he came in, he would actually hit you in the face with a nunchuck and knock you out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So he changed it in terms of like he would run through people and actually hit you, opposed to like the block.
Yeah, I can't be wasting time on these suckers, man. I got
exactly. So he had this thing where he
got people to save.
Yeah, exactly. He would run through people and had the full contact. You know what I mean? What is it? In Enter the Dragon 2, he hits a young Jackie Chan in the face with a kendo stick. Too. That's a true story.
Grabs him by the hair, turns him around, and pushes him off. All right, but that's enough about like Bruce Lee. Let's talk about the movie itself, because, dude, I want to know your opinion of this picture.
Like I said, I really disliked the white narrator, that entry point. But
as a guy, as an actor,
not as an actor, I just thought it was a kind of a tacky way to go about this. I thought it was kind of like this culture thing. You know what I mean? You're having a white guy kind of do the introduction. It just seemed kind of it was reductive for me for the picture.
See, I gotta disagree with you there. I think there's a lot of negative ways they could have taken this. This could have been some disrespectful whitewashing BS, and instead
that was a way. It kind of whitewashed for me.
Nah,
that way.
I did.
Kind of like the Great Wall, kind of like that Keanu Reeves martial arts movie.
We've talked about both of those, man. The Great Wall had Matt Damon in the movie for like
Great
10
Wall's
minutes.
different because that has like legit like fantastical things in it. This is a true story.
And this one I liked from that point of view because there's a white guy there, yes, but he's there as a student and it's very respectful of the culture and he's interested in learning. He immerses himself in that world and that ends up being part of the thing that spawns the fight in itself. Right. And I like this actor's interpretation because he's an actual martial artist. You know, he's good. It wasn't just like, well, you know, I've been cast for my looks and I'm kind of flailing around and stuff. No, when he shows his form, there's technique there.
Right.
He also isn't like the Great White Hope because there's scenes in here where he just gets rough and you're like, oh, this dude's a student of both Wong Jack-man and Bruce Lee. Okay, of course, I see. He's gonna come in here and clean up like 47 guys in a row. No, like he can handle one guy, he can handle two guys. He's good enough to handle like three guys. When he's facing a whole gang, no, he gets rocked like you'd expect him to get rocked.
Yeah,
I like that because it didn't make him impossible.
I like the two schools. You know what I mean? You're learning because you realize these two guys are, you know what I mean, so good at what they do and so well respected within those communities. So it was good to feature both like that. And I like the actor who played Bruce Lee. He kind of got
that dude was ridiculous.
He got the subtleties, the way he kind of speaks. You know what I mean, and just the cockiness,
impressed.
the arrogance. You know what I mean, but also the skill and how like physical and how like really incredible he was as a martial artist.
This dude's physicality when he was doing those like handstand push-ups.
He does the pull-ups too, and he's going back and forth. There's a lot of scenes like that. You're like, this guy's
he was not hired just to be a pretty boy. He looked the part, he acted the part, and he had like the physicality to do Bruce Lee stuff.
Right.
You know, I was damned impressed. I will also call special attention to the dude that played Wong Jack-man.
Right. What else has he been in? Because he's fantastic. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, and I've seen
his face. I was trying to place it during the movie too. Yeah. We're just saying the dude that did. The guy who played Bruce Lee was Philip Ng. Philip Ng. And the guy who played Wong Jack-man was Xia Yu.
All right, click on him. What else did he do?
All right, well, that's going to take a second to come up, but I liked him as Wong Jack-man because he played a very subdued character and, you know, everything you'd expect a Shaolin monk living in society to do, you know? This dude has done Mojin the Lost Legend, In the Heat of the Sun, Birth of Dragon, what we're talking about, Waiting Alone, Double Trouble. A lot of movies I've actually never heard of and never seen. I mean, I know you see everything. I myself thought I had a good knowledge of outside stuff, but it looks to be mainly mostly foreign movies or smaller releases.
In his own country, sure, yeah.
Yeah, have you seen any of these?
Let me see. I'm going through it right now.
Because his portrayal of Wong Jack-man was very, like, he dressed simply. His behavior was like, hey, look, if I need to, I'll mess you up, but I'm going to be very respectful. I'm going to be very demure. And
which is almost more insulting,
It kind of was at times. It was pretty much like, he had that sense of, I'm being very polite, but I kind of want to get the F away from you right now.
Well,
and I'm masking that under not even a fake smile, just an air of superiority.
Well, when he kind of shows up too, you know what I mean? He's a legend and people know he's there. But was it Bruce Lee thinks he's actually a spy trying to...
Yeah, Bruce Lee thinks he's mainly there just to undercut the...
Just to scope what he's doing and find out like what he's up to report back. I think that was...
Which tied in well because I believed that Bruce Lee was very paranoid about this guy. Right. Bruce Lee was like, no, I know what you really want. You really just want to, I'm challenging you because I know you think you're better than me. And I believe that from both of them. The acting in this is great. I enjoyed it. I'm a little upset that the movie got such a small response in its opening weekend. We should probably wrap this up. It's got such a small response because they projected it to pull $3 million. A small budget movie about actually some huge subject matter, but small budget movie expected to make a good side return, but it's up against movies like Logan Lucky. Excuse me. It's up against movies like Logan Lucky, and especially what hurt its release was it came out on the weekend of the big fight between Floyd Mayweather.
It also didn't really get pushed that well. Like I heard about it. I heard about it like 4 months ago, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, it's being released this weekend." I didn't hear anything in the lead up. You know what I mean? I didn't hear anything the last like 3 weeks.
Well, worldwide, it's been out since September of 2016.
Right.
We just now got it here in America.
So, like I said, I was reading and watching stuff about this movie months and months and months ago. Then I saw it was released this week, and I was like, "Yeah, really? Okay, well, there's a, interesting way to push your flick."
It just got kind of a raw deal. It was dealt a bad hand, but you know what? I think the movie withstands a lot of stuff that would bring down other movies. Being up against such a huge event as the fight, no one would go see a lesser film, and this one, I think, on its own merit, was able to shine through. It didn't pull the money they were hoping, but it did get a fairly decent response in theaters. And I myself, I liked it. I liked the movie. I would recommend anyone who's a fan of Bruce Lee or just a fan of martial arts in general. It's almost better if you're not, because this will be new information for you. If you're someone who's a hardcore fan, you've seen the documentaries, and I will also point out, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, this covered more of the documentary material that you see, documentary style material that you see, than most other movies about Bruce Lee.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. It's one of the most important parts of his career and his legacy, you know what I mean, is featured in this. Like this isn't like by any way the definitive kind of telling of what went on, because no one really knows for sure. There's so much to this legend, and that's what it is. But it's a fun take, and I'll give it that. And I'm fascinated by any Bruce Lee stuff, so yeah, that's all I'll say. If you're interested in that, just I would go see it for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so now to Marvel's Defenders.